Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and as always, I'm scouring the countryside to find food to bring back to you as a leader of the pack, always out on the hunt, looking to bring food back for you for your mindset to help you continue to increase your mastery as a leader and to advance your business. Today, I want to talk with you about pivoting and three secrets, three traps that will crush your ability to pivot. Pivoting during the Great Shutdown, pivoting has become a huge topic. It's become the mantra in business, right? Oh, you got to pivot. Well, change is necessary, right? With the Great Shutdown, that's forcing change in markets, change in how you operate your business, change in what's available within your business. So here's three traps that if you fall into, will just absolutely wipe out your ability to pivot in today's environment. So here's the first. I got some notes I'm going to refer to. Is that okay? So first, careers are made by creating workarounds to existing problems, not solving them. This is a team problem. This is internal to your business, especially as your business grows larger. And if you've got 10, 20, 50 people on your team or more, this happens increasingly in terms of people are they're becoming heroes within your company by finding a workaround, not by fixing the system, not by making changes that are long term. I challenge you to take a look in your business and be honest about whether this is happening or not. It is. It's just human behavior. And you see that at large corporations, it's just blindingly obvious. In a company your size, it may be a little bit harder to see. And especially as the founder, as the owner, it would be harder. It may be harder to see. That's where having, some outside eyes helps, or also, having some trusted advisors. But take a look and see, it's like, for example, promotions and bonuses are based on getting standout results without considering how did they get to that. Not that exceptional wins shouldn't be rewarded. When you do that, though, when someone has a standout performance that's a one-off, the first time it happens, what do you do with that? Do you do an after action report? Do you do an out brief, if you want to call it that? Do you do an after action report to see what happened? Why did that person achieve that? What steps did they follow? What did they go through so that you can fix problems in your business that may be preventing others from getting that type of performance, or so that you can adapt new best practices to your business so that everyone can perform better and that person can continue to perform at that level. It's just one example. A lot of times the people that report directly to you got there because they're great firefighters. And I don't mean that in the context of the brush fires we have. I'm in Southern California. We're in fire season. We've got brush fires going in California, particularly Southern California right now. Not those kind of fires, but it's like some problem comes up, they're on it. Problem comes up, they're on it. So it's crisis management. It's going one crisis to the next as opposed to long-term performance. Now, you're likely telling yourself, no, it doesn't happen with my people. Do an honest assessment again. These are just three examples of how the workaround trap occurs, how it presents itself. And here's a third. Performance reviews, are based on working within the current system, not changing the system, not coming up with innovations, not mentoring other people, not helping other people have breakthrough performance as well. It's how well do they work within the current system. That's a trap. You go to pivot, guess what? Everybody's incentives are lined up against you, because when the performance appraisal comes around, they're going to be getting gauged on what they did most of during the year, and most of it will be whatever process they started the year with, whatever activity they started the year with. They may modify a little bit, but you have to watch out for it. You have to adjust your performance review and make it clear to everybody, look, this is the new way of doing stuff. This is how it's going to tie into the way your performance is being assessed. This is how it ties into being able to get ahead, to advance in your career within the company towards their goals. It has to be made relevant to them. There's a bonus. It's got to be made relevant to them. So, and here's the second one. There's no incentive to change. This ties into what we were just talking about. It also stands alone. There's no incentive. So what's the reward if they follow the new system? And we don't go out of business isn't good enough. They can collect an unemployment check. They can move on to another business. You lose your house, your cars, the kids' money for the kids' school, right? It's a big crash and burn as the business owner, something that they don't experience. You have very different incentives. What is their incentive? How is it move? Again, it does tie back into what we just talked about on performance incentives and performance appraisals and the culture within the company. But what's their incentive? What is the punishment if they fail to follow? This is specific to a pivot. When you're saying we're doing this, we're going to pivot like that. What happens if they don't go along with it? They're going to fire them? Going to counsel them, begin progressive discipline? You're going to say, okay, they're going to fly under the radar because you can't personally attend to it. So, again, how's your team? What's the incentive for your team to be doing this? And third on this, on the incentives, how does the new system make their lives better? And just keeping the doors open isn't enough. That's to start with, maybe as a catalyst to get things going, to implement change. But in the long run, how is this making their lives better? How is it making it easier to do business? How is it making it less of a 70, 80-hour week? So at the beginning of the Great Shutdown, you may have people dumping lots of hours in. You may have people taking salary cuts, as you did, right? There's all kinds of things that were implemented to save the company, to save as many jobs as possible up front. Over the long haul, though, how does that tie into making their lives better on the job as part of the team? How does it make the culture of your company better? How does it make it a better experience for your teams? We talked in the previous episode about customer experience. So this is about team experience. How does this, in terms of the incentive, how does it make their life better? How does this make it more appealing to be part of the team? And so third, there's the psychology of people living with the problem, right? Not the solution or the technology. It's about, let me say that again. It's about the psychology of the people living with the problem, not the technology you're using to solve it or any other solution you have. It's not about the solution of the problem. So I need to tab down. Well, see, okay. So here's something that happens. When I started my career at Hughes Aircraft, one of the mantras that we were taught was, if technology is not the problem, technology is not the solution. So in the environment that we find ourselves in now, the environment you find yourself in and your team finds themselves in with the Great Shutdown, the problem isn't technology. The problem is what's happening outside. A lot of things you can't control. Shutdown orders. You can't control social distancing, wearing masks, things that are being told. And this is not a debate about what's good, bad, and different. This has nothing to do with any of that. You're told if you want to keep your doors open, you have to do this. If you don't, could be fines, could be criminal charges, could have in LA County, they're cutting off water and power if they don't like, if the government doesn't like what you're doing. So it's working with the environment that's set. So what's the psychology? What happens when you put that kind of pressure on people? So now there's certain problems people are living with. Humans are very adaptive. Your team will adapt to it. So now you've got psychological pressure to work with the problem, live with the problem. They've already adapted. And as you're continuing to make pivots and right, it's not one pivot. The business media, they go, oh, pivot. You know better than that, right? It's not a pivot. It's pivoting continually to see what works and to get back on track, to stay on track with growing your company, right? So as you're doing that, it's been how long? So in California, I'm not sure where you're at. If you're here in California, maybe different in a different state. Since the second weekend in California, we've been shut down. They quote unquote open a little bit, but it's very restrictive conditions. in order to push back against the COVID pandemic. So think about that. It's 21 days is the benchmark for people developing a new habit. Well, your team is way past, right? Because that's March, where I'm not sure if you're not in California where it started for you. For us in California, it starts second week of March. We are way past the 21-day mark. So people have developed new habits. They've adapted to their new environment. Now you're fighting new bad habits, the psychology of having adapted, which if you're not working with that to help them keep moving through it instead of getting stuck in it, so that means now you've got another 21 days. You ask them to do something different, you're resetting that 21 days every time you implement a change. Every pivot, every step in the pivot does that. If you miss that, if you don't work with the psychology, the human psychology of what happens when you are asking them to change, it will defeat you. That's why 70% of changes fail. And it's probably going to be a lot higher, as reported by Ken Blanchard companies. If it's probably going to be a lot higher during the Great Pandemic, the Great Shutdown, because it's a lot more pressure. The psychology is a lot tougher, right? People are hardening a little bit in terms of into their comfort zones. They're hardening into their comfort zones because there's a lot going on around them, a lot of horrific messaging bombarding them. And you need to work with the human psychology of that. And part of that comes back to the experience within, that you're creating for your team at work, but it's also understanding every time that you're implementing a change, you're resetting that 21-day clock. Now, let me check something here real quick. I want to make sure I didn't miss a point. Right. So, yeah, they want to solve the problem and not change anything. So that's part of the psychology. Seen that happen. And it's like, yeah, we want to working with being brought when I've been brought in as an agent of change for companies. Most of the time, they don't really want the change. They want the result. They don't want to do anything different. So part of the psychology, part of that 21-day stretch of building a new habit, shifting from the old habit, building a new habit, and then making that their new default mode is they really don't want to change. They want to get the result. They don't really want to do something different. It's just human psychology. It's not a value judgment on the people on your team. It's at some level. Some people have a lower threshold for that. Some people have a higher. Those that are a lot better at adapting, are more open to it, but they still have that trip point. So you need to work with that. To force them to change won't work. It'll be short term. Psychologically, you can say, this is what we got to do. You'll go in and do command and control, and that may be necessary. Maybe necessary multiple points along the way as you are implementing changes, as you are pivoting step by step to see what's working and getting better at it. You may be able to force it short term as a catalyst to get things going to build momentum that doesn't carry in the long term. You have to have them coming along willingly. And those that live the process day to day are best positioned to make the changes. So especially as your company grows, as your team's bigger, it really gets complicated in the 50 and up, 100 plus people. There's all kinds of interactions and whatnot, but also a lot of things you can't see. Your people to report directly to, your immediate team, your executive team, if I may, won't be able to see. So it requires a lot of involvement of the people that are actually implementing the change, who are actually doing the step-by-step work process. So in larger organizations, you'll have a policy and procedure manual that says, look, here's how we do stuff, but you'll also have a desk level step-by-step, here's how we do things. And if you don't, you need to solve that first. But it's at that desk level. It's at what the hands-on, the customer interaction level, who does the customer talk to when they call. Hopefully it's not just a bot, the AI, these AI solutions for call centers. Okay, that's nice. You really want to stand out with your customer experience that we talked about in the previous episode, immediately previous to this episode. You need to have live people, real people that they can talk to at some point. And the quicker, the fewer steps it takes to get there, the better. So there's another bonus tip for you. Coming back to to the day-to-day process, you have to make sure that the people that are implementing it step by step, that are most affected by the change, are involved in crafting the change and are very involved in the AARs, after action reports, which you should be doing frequently as you're implementing change so you can find out what's working. Great, let's do more of that. What's not working? Okay, let's fix that. What can we do even better? Even if it's working, when you implement something new, you'll learn something from that experience that will be testable. Say, hey, you know what? We did this. It did X, Y, Z. If we do X, Y, W next time, it may work even better. You need that kind of feedback from the people that are the most hands-on, the most affected by the change, because it's learning that you'll never get from a distance without being the person that's day to day running it. And it's an opportunity to test it to see if it works better. So there's 3 tips and a couple of bonuses on 3 traps that will derail your attempts to pivot during the Great Shutdown. So thanks for joining Wolf's Watch today. Always glad you're part of it. I'm Wolf. And you know what? Do me a favor. If you got something out of this, comment. What is usable so that others can learn. So I can learn from you. So others that watch and read the comments can learn as well. If you think that I am full of it and none of this is workable and this was useless information, comment. I want to hear. Those who speak, those who participate, get to help define, how things are going to be in the future, right? So food for thought. There's another bonus tip for you. So it would be helpful. And if you would, go to our YouTube channel. You may be watching this on Facebook or another one of the socials that we stream to, but I'd like to specifically ask for this favor. Go to our Facebook channel, Adventure CEO, and subscribe to the channel. There's a whole bunch of other topics and videos available there. We are posting content. This streams live to the YouTube channel as well. However, there's a lot of other content that we upload there that sometimes is not available on the other socials. Or when it is, that's the first place that it's posted, and you'll be able to get useful information ahead of everybody else. So subscribe to the channel. It helps us. We're building that out, and it gives us the ability to unlock some more features. Right now, we're working on unlocking some more features so that we can make the channel a better experience for you and the other subscribers. So I appreciate that. So thanks for joining us today for Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and as always, I will see you on the trail.